been part of this journey of Code Stack from the beginning, off and on involving and all that. And thanks for inviting for this. So sharing about multi-actor platforms in IIT Delhi looks like the platform means for you, many of you, it's web platform, IT platform, and all that. But what I'm going to say is practically what we are doing on the ground. You know, not so much about platform that in the larger IT sense. So Adi asked me to share what are the processes that are going on in the field to build this thing, right? So most of it is actually navigating multiple interests, multiple contexts, and all that, and how you build some kind of a convergent synergistic action at a block level. Uh, yeah. So before we move on to that, I want to sort of share how we in the NGO sector and in the government, how things are done generally in the development, how crores and crores of investments are made in general. So normally we take CSOs take some area in a block, as a geography, and then they see that this geography doesn't overlap with another organization's geography, right? And then works with a focus of some themes. They have specializations, maybe directed by the legacy of the organization or the expertise or the funding environment and all that. And then they'll have some kind of an organizational base of their own, mostly. Okay, so each organization will try to see their own community organization base, and then identifies the problem, go deep into the interaction with the community and all that, identify a problem, develop proposals, seek funding, or mobilize resources from the government, or no, sort of implement government schemes in the with the community. The idea is to bring resources to the community, and in all this process, whatever the funding environment in that particular location, in that particular organization, largely determines what they do. Okay, I'm sort of simplifying and bringing the whole thing to a very practical, low level. It's not that behind even doing this, there's huge amount of spirits, so many lives spent on the ground and all that. That is there. Okay, but the methodology of doing, we are caught into this. Even in the government spends, when the government spends comes up the program, most often it is somebody visualizes a problem and somebody sells a solution, and that's conceptualized into a scheme, and the scheme is invested upon, and each scheme is invested upon separately. There are silos, right? This is how investments flow either from the government or from the civil society into this thing. The challenges here are when within the geography, say this is the whole thing is a block, there are organizations involved, right? And they bring in multiple competences. Somebody is specializing in forestry, somebody is specializing in agriculture, somebody is in watersheds. They work in their own areas. But block as a landscape has multiple issues. It's a different animal. But if you look at the block as on date, most of the blocks in India have community platforms, SHG platforms, organized community, each SHG accessing about 5 to 10 lakh rupees from the bank theoretically, and so much of money. I know 20,000 crores probably will be the bank linked funds going into SHGs in one state. So such a large organization, the Gram Panchayats are there, market players are there, and then multiple schemes flowing independently in isolation way. And then there are several other community organizations. And then lots of skills, resources, market players, and everything is there. Then lots of issues. Issue is not related to one. It's about water. It's about forest. It's about livelihoods. It's about many, many, many things. So all those things are there. But this way of actually working, is not actually giving us a good advantage of moving forward. This is what I learned in my career in this thing. So, if you the place I'm going to share with you is Boipariguda block in Koraput district of Odisha. That's where things are. So, just to translate that into a map, this is the Boipariguda map. These are the organizations. These are the organizations working there. And each one is a nationally reputed organization bringing specializations, but they work in their own areas and sometimes overlaps and all that. If you look at the block as a whole, there are a whole lot of federations of SAGs and all that at multiple levels. About 2,000 SAGs are there. Women are organized into groups. 3 farmer producer organizations are there. 7 CSOs have experiences in this. So, but no, so much of competencies, synergy, expertise available. They're not synergies for the development of the block as a whole, because each of us come with a specific, viewpoints and specific this thing and all that. Okay, that's where we say. So, what if we see the block as a landscape? This is the exercise we started with. We put the whole block map in Google Earth map, basically before the community, and then see how you see it. Organizations, community, and everybody together, and had a 2-3 days workshop. And then if you see the block as a living landscape, as people having multiple people having multiple skills, and it's a live economy, then it presents a completely different picture. The challenge before us is how you actually bring this visualization into development practice. How you synergize this thing. This is the challenge before us, where we started. So I'll take you through a simple one example instead of giving frameworks and all that. We mapped on the SAG platforms and CSO platforms, simple ODK tools, map the water resources. There are people working on fisheries. Every organization works on fisheries, maybe 5 ponds, maybe 10 ponds and all that, and then the success case studies and all that. But if you actually look at the entire block, they map in a matter of 1 week or 10 days using mobile ODKs, 1,114 water bodies in the. And then if you look at the strength of it, each one, even if you take the minimal of 75 kg, is 1.3438 crores of economy. Just fish in the pond, if you can actually realize this thing. But why all these fisheries, all these water bodies do not have fish in the fisheries practiced? That's the question, right? I may be doing 10, I may be 10, but the larger question is all the water bodies where fish can be grown should have fisheries. Why it's not happening? Then if that is the question that you start with, you can actually map, and then each water bodies and all these things you can do. And then it's not only economy, it's so much of proteinaceous food also. 83 tons of proteins going into the community. You actually realize that ambition. So then there are multiple ponds. This gives you the ownership profiles, and this gives you the seasonality of the water bodies. All this came from that body data and all that. There are multiple actors. There are pond owners. Some are private ponds. Some are panchayat ponds. Some are some water bodies are owned by the irrigation department. So there are tenurial issues and tenurial actors. And then the groups who are actually leasing in ponds and all that, individuals. Gram panchayats have some tanks as ownership. Irrigation department owns something. There are fish vendors, traders, and then there are special people who actually provide services as harvesting fish. Every farmer do not harvest fish. It's a technical thing. So there are some groups of this thing, and then there are people trained by the fisheries department going into the villages, and fisheries department itself feeds fish feed suppliers and fish consumers. There are multiple actors and different typologies and different. How do you actually look at the landscape with so many actors, with so much of resources around, and then your objective of can there be fisheries in this thing? As a simple case, I'm saying. So that's a second order challenge. How you navigate between these multiple actors and multiple dimensions of the one simple problem. So and also the technologies how you look at a water body. Water body is an ecosystem by itself. It has water, it has land, it has agriculture surrounding it. Water can be used for irrigation, water can be used for fisheries. You can use all these bunds and all that for this thing. We actually have cases where each pond can actually generate 50,000 rupees income. If you don't see it as a farm pond, if you don't see it as an irrigation alone, if you don't see it as a fish pond alone, if you see it as an ecosystem, then there are multiple opportunities that comes from there. So there is a technology part of it. There is a perspective of technology point of view. A fisheries department official only looks at fish. A horticulture wala looks at horticulture or vegetables. So instead of that, if you see this in ecosystem, there's a lot more that can be harnessed from that ecosystem sustainably. If there is agriculture which actually pumps in pesticides into the pond, then there is nothing can happen in terms of fishes there. So it's also linked. That's why I'm saying it's part of an ecosystem. So, and then there are so many things that can be done in this thing. So the challenge is how you make it happen, right? So to make it happen, if I own a fish pond, then I need, what is the support system that I need? I need somebody from where I can buy the fish seed, where I can buy the fish feed. Lots of ecosystem linkages are there, ecosystem services are required. So how do you get all these things in place? If I am a farmer, I don't know how to do fishing, and I don't have a fish nets and all that. Then I need to access to somebody who is skilled, and then some nets who which I can take on a I can borrow on a rental. All those support systems that are listed here. Hmm. So planting material and the bunds and all that, and pumps for pumping water. No, lots of support systems are required. How do you bring that support systems in place in that block so that every farmer who wants to manage their own ponds can actually do it efficiently and integrated way? That is the second order challenge. What are the support systems required, right? So if you look at this farmer doing fisheries, this is a very simplistic case. This is they need credit, seedlings, fish gear, and then the tenurial rights on that, and then feed, uh, technical services, markets. All these things need to exist in the block as a support system to bring all the water bodies, all the 1,000 plus water bodies into fisheries thing. So then these actors that I have listed and the mode of action. So some are credit, some is grant, some is technical services, some are sort of customizing this thing, and then market value chains. Multiple typologies of actions are required. And the currently, just take a few more minutes. Currently, these actors and the way they work are not aligned to these water bodies. So fisheries department, for example, only considers water bodies which are more than 2 acres or whatever, 1 hectare into their ambit. Below that, they don't see that those water bodies existing for fisheries. So they have a conception of fisheries means itna water bodies hai isme. But even 1/4 acre water body, 20 cents acre body, water body can also produce fish. But the production system need to be different. They need advanced fingerlings. So the current support systems are not aligned to the kind of resources that are there in that particular landscape. Okay. So then you need to realign the system, the credit linkage. Nobody will give credit for, say, 10 cents water body. So you need to create that thing. So you need to tamper with work with all these spaces in terms of the changing the way they work, the way they're structured, the way they're functioning. So that's where it leads to some kind of a policy action. So what are the policies that are governing each actor doing the way they are doing, and how to change it the way that is needed for the landscape? It's a lot of policy work that is there. And then it needs a lot of skills and all that. And just imagine the convert this into a data framework. What kind of data that you require on a simple case of a compound water body. So you need data on actors, you need data on fish vendors, and then their market volumes. What is the consumption levels in this thing? How water bodies are there? What is their seasonality? What is the risks involved? All that. If you have tools of analysis, then you can actually comprehend the problem. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to see the complexity involved in the whole thing. In a simple case of fishes, if you go into agriculture, this will blow probably 100 folds. Okay. So this is where we started. We got all these people together, the SHG groups, all the organizations together. We all sat together along with the government officers, technical people, and all that. We looked at the landscape, the map, and then analyzed what are the issues and all that. Came out with all the some kind of a problem analysis and all that. all that led to, I mean, these kinds of backend maps and all that are used to visualize water bodies, and then what is the topology, soils, what is agriculture, what are the fallow lands, all those were discussed, showing maps. Okay. And they actually classified the block into typologies, some clusters, based on the similarities of the landscapes. So they came up with some 5 typologies. I don't go into the details of it. Okay, each cluster has these kind of characteristics. So then they clustered this thing because their potential, development potential, or the level of current development is at one level. So that's a fundamental basis, and then heuristically they put together what are the variables that you need and all that. So and then they set long-term goals. Is what is that? What is to be achieved in the block? And they converted that into a short-term focal areas. So these are the focal areas that the people brought in. So just imagine, I just described one of the whole thing. If you look at diversification in crop systems, it's a huge area. There are so many typology land types, and then so many different crops. 30, 40 crops are there. Each has its own value chain, each has its own link with the food systems. And then you look at each of them, water resources and all that. Each unfolds huge amount of comprehension and requiring data and then comprehension, this thing. So they say block as a pilot initiative, which is called Boipariguda block. Then all the CSOs, the SAG block level federation, and the government had an MOU that we should work on it. Government created a separate account called Landscape Restoration and Agroecological. In their words, it says to be a scheme. If you talk about this, anything it has to be a scheme, and put some money into it. So how the processes flow in the multi-actor platform. So solutions are ideated. These are the things: knowledge, capacities, finance, institutional anchor, enterprise support system. All these things need to be there for any intervention that you take. So the flow is, once you surface the problem in the discussions, they meet every fortnight or every month, and then people bring in issues and all that. Slowly, it is communitized. So SHG groups are there now. Panchayats will come later. Now broadly CSOs and government offices and SHG platforms are there. Slowly, all the stakeholders are brought into the platform. So all the solutions are proven solutions are converted into ideated and converted into proposals, and the proposals are shared in the map and then tweaked as per the solution and all that. We are trying to create a landscape finance mechanism for that, where government schemes are also integrated, and then look at what are the support systems established, and then how those enterprises can come up, how you promote such enterprise ecosystem into the whole thing, and then so then the second order challenge is, how do you fund such a system? There are multiple. It's not one scheme. It's not. You cannot schematize this. It's a multiple thing. How do you find? Issues keep on emerging. Somebody brought in the issue of forest fringe villages. How do you liquidate forest fringe villages which have specific problems other than the forest villages or the mainstream villages? So you have to map all the forest fringe villages and see what kind of issues they're there. Then whole sort of things start up from there. So we are developing some kind of blended finance model where private capital, development funding, including government, private, corporate, CSR, and all that, are blended into financial products that actually support any initiative that comes up through the map process. So that kind of a block level blended finance mechanism is being established, which leverages multiple things like interest subvention, credit guarantee, impact funding. Now, all these funding mechanisms are integrated, and any initiative is actually seen. How you can finance, which model is appropriate, and all that. Accordingly, it will be channelized. So, on one hand, you have farm level, group level, and landscape level initiatives, institutions also, and here the financial this thing, and then we map all the requirements. So another example is this multi-layer integrated farms. So where you, like I said earlier, where you integrate all the elements, horticulture, fisheries, agriculture, vegetables, poultry, and all that. So an expression of interest is floated into the platform. So there are farmers who came forward who want to try, and then they are trained. A group of resource persons are trained in permaculture models. They go through and then come up with the field level plans. You can see here these field level plans are actually mapped into Google Earth, and then that will be eventually be in the server. And all this process will be automated in course of time. And then this kind of a loan product is designed out of the whole thing. The farmers come here and then they implement. Similarly, this is the natural farming promotion. So some 40 farmer resource persons are trained, and then they take around and then go around villages, panchayats, and then bringing more farmers into this thing. Those processes are. I'm just showing this because different things come up and then at different times and everything is taken up on the board. Uh, so these are the kinds of so many things that are open already in 8 months time, and these are on the anvil. And then all this together, now we'll move into a panchayat level, no, a smaller landscape level planning exercise, integrating all this into one landscape and see the intersectionalities. So what I'm looking at Stack is I just projected all this to imagine, and we ourselves are also scared. Know that the data requirements, the analytical requirements, and imagine that at the level of a block level worker. People like you will never go into the field and then stay in a block and then work. So the capacity of a block level worker in terms of their ability to navigate data is very poor. So that's where the tools and all that very, very important. Yeah. So we are actually there'll be central to the landscape is one anchor and one landscape resource center. We are envisaging this landscape resource center to be a platform, an IT platform, which actually gets all the data from the government, from all the processes that are there. So all the planning processes are data processes also. When you plan, you have the map of the entire farm, and then its soil, its resources, all those things. So all data will aggregate into one, and then all the M&E systems are streamlined with the data. Use mostly mobile ODKs to pull in the data. Then the platform should also throw in anomalies, no intersectional complexities, some advice on how what is good, what is not good. No, it should actually be able to understand all these things and then throw good ideas or reflections that are useful for the platform to again think and then work around. No, that is number one. Number two, whatever idea comes in, immediately you can see the idea as the data. Like I said, forest range villages, somebody brought in I mean, animal agriculture conflict is very strong. So then how do you see that issue in terms of a landscape? Which are the landscape elements? Where in the landscape that problem exists? For that, you don't need to go to every village and generate this thing. No, first order data can be generated through maps. So like water bodies, if we have a good tool of identifying water body, which is 10 cents, 5 cents, then we could have actually generated the water bodies data, and then people have gone to see and validate the whole thing. So those requirements are huge. For that, progressively, if we generate tools and then intelligent tools and intelligent analytical tools and then reflective tools, that will be fantastic. Provide fantastic support to whole effort. That's what eventually asking Adi to develop for all of us. Thank you.